So after a terrific morning, I think we have, we're still in the morning. After a terrific first session, we've got a great session leading into lunch. And now we get into the global business plenary. And I think, one of the things Jamie talked about so well was how business can actually be part of the solution rather than the problem. And in my view, if you look at a sort of simplistic level of the world, the last century, NGOs had great intentions, but a lot of the time not great execution. And business had a lot of the time not great intentions, but had very good execution. And I think what this century needs to be about is great intentions and great execution. And I think what we're seeing around the world is that many of the world's biggest businesses have realized that people want business to become more socially responsible. People are happy for business to make profit. They just want it to make profit in the right way, and they want to know what business stands for beyond just profit. And I think, my view is that the model of doing good without making money in the business world is as non-sustainable as the model of making money without caring for the impact you have on the world around you. And that what we actually need is I love Venn diagrams, and if you have a Venn diagram where one circle is doing good and the other circle is making money, what we need is the intersection of the two. And I think if we had a world where the people who became the richest were the people who'd done the most good, it'd be a pretty good place to live. So against that backdrop, we have a fantastic panel of global business leaders here today to talk to you, to do a panel, to interact with you, and very importantly and critically, we're going to hear from some of the brilliant delegates in the room about what they think about global business and what global business should be doing. So we're going to introduce them to you, and first up is someone who I think, in fact, we have all of our counselors sit into this space, but they really are the pioneers in leading the movement for big business to do good. The first counselor is Paul Polman. He's a visionary business leader. He made a huge impact at Davos last year when he basically set out and said that Unilever's goal was to double its revenue whilst dramatically reducing its carbon footprint. So all about, yes, we're going to be a business, we're going to be successful, but we're also going to be much more socially responsible. I think he's probably running one of the most important companies in the world in terms of Unilever, and therefore one of the most powerful voices behind this movement. And he's transforming Unilever both from the inside and out, fundamentally re-engineering and transforming the supply chain. He's an amazing leader, and he's a great guy. Paul Polman.
And next up, somebody who genuinely believes that the role of banks and financial services in society, in the community, and the greater world can be a force for change and change for the better. You had him speak to you yesterday, a fabulous speech. He's Anthony Jenkins, Global CEO of Barclays Retail. Anthony.
You met her last night. The Financial Times in the UK ranked her as the third in the world of top 50 businesswomen. She's a massive force in Turkey's political, social, and cultural life, the chair of the Sabancı Group, Gula Sabancı.
And next up, an entrepreneur who has spent most of his working life designing and delivering better public services. So you heard from Doug yesterday about being an entrepreneur, but this is someone who has taken a genuine entrepreneurial spirit into delivering public services, the CEO of A4E, Mark Lovell.
And the next councillor who you heard from yesterday, one of the planet's leading authorities on energy, fuels, and climate change, leading the charge on tackling CO2 emissions, the chairman of the Zero Emissions Platform and executive vice president of Shell International, Graham Sweeney.
Now, what we're going to do in these plenary sessions, which is different from last year because last year was the first summit, once the councillors have been introduced, we will have the convening ambassador on that impact area up onto the stage to give a brief 2-minute report on the impacts that One Young World ambassadors have had around the world in that impact area. And then they've also chosen 1 or 2 returning ambassadors to talk briefly about their projects, just 2 minutes each. And then we move to the format where our esteemed councillors lend their stature to One Young World delegates by personally introducing one of the delegates. I think in some case today, possibly 2. One of you is introducing 2. So I would like to introduce you to the convening ambassador on the role of global business in society, Muhammed Ali Mustafa from Pakistan. Oh wait, you can speak, won't you? I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I wanted to just give you some more background to him. We've been on a couple of Skype calls together, getting us all together, and I know he's passionate about positive change, empowerment, and equality for all humanity. He's received awards for youth development efforts from the Vice Chancellor of the University of Karachi just last year, and remarkable services in community development. Sorry, I'm reading the same line again. And excellent efforts in engaging youth in community from the Mayor of Karachi for the development campaign in 2009. And there are so many others here. I can't read them all, Ali. But his projects include Asian Union Youth. He's the co-founder and president of Asian Union Youth, an organization working with the youth of Asia for positive change using the UN charters and the One Young World resolutions. He's a president of Youth NGO, and he's the team leader of an amazing program called I Own Karachi, which encourages citizens of all ages to own the city of Karachi and the community and to take responsibility for it. So, Muhammad Ali Mustafa.
Thank you, Kate. Thank you. I want to begin by thanking everyone for supporting me throughout the year to lead the resolution for global business. Last year, we voted in the favor of the resolution that stated, in the belief that multinational corporations have a fundamental responsibility to behave ethically, we call upon the global business to define and act on their role in the fight against poverty. I'm proud to announce that over 30,000 people were directly and indirectly impacted by the projects we took on. There were a total of 5 projects carried out by our unreasonable and terrific ambassadors. Christian Kalmans from Germany worked on the project Business Students Without Borders, which implemented Christmas in shoebox. More than 40 shoeboxes were filled and wrapped by students and staff members of the university and sent to the needy children in Central Asia and Eastern Europe. Adam Purvis from United Kingdom worked on a fantastic project, Power of Youth, which is building a community that offers free knowledge, funding, and inspiration from the world's best young entrepreneurs, working with the next generation of leaders to turn inspiring ideas into action. James Alchemy from Haiti is working on the project Eggs for Hope, which aims to train and employ young Haitians in caring for chickens and selling the eggs, incubating them to increase chicken stocks, and providing wholesome and healthy meals for school children to help them make the most of their educational opportunities. My project, Generation Next, Voice of Youth, aims to empower youth in every sector of life and provides business and employment to the people in poverty in Pakistan, especially to the people from the terror-affected areas and for the flood victims last year. There were many challenges we faced by our ambassadors in making our projects happen and making our dreams a reality. For example, people didn't always take us seriously. We faced lack of funding, lack of mass support, using and mobilizing networks. However, they did not stop us. Our ideas were big enough and strong enough to say to the older generation that, you know what, we are unreasonable people. And you will see it through our results and our actions, and we proved it over time. Instead of fundraising, we actually earned money and adopted social entrepreneurship to run our projects. Using and mobilizing our network was greatly helped by teamwork. Social media played an important role in making our project successful. Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and blogs became the source of information for people around the globe about our project. This shows if you are determined, there's always a solution. Now, allow me to introduce to you one extremely determined ambassador, Micheal Teoh, from Malaysia, working on a project, Your Big Ear, to tell you about his achievement.
There is a story in Santa Marta, Colombia, about an ancient tribe that would protect their destined leader since birth from the sun. He or she would be given the first glimpse of sunlight when he or she has come of age and wisdom. For me, when I heard this story during my volunteer project in Colombia recently, it represented one young world to me. All of you here today have gained your rights, your respect, and your place to be here. You are the best in your countries, and you are back there to affect change in your communities and your countries. And I salute all of you for that. Like the tribal kings of this Colombian folklore, where he would finally see the day of sun, our day to change our world has finally come, and it starts with all of you here in One Young World. Now, I'd like to bring your attention to two problems out of the many problems that we see around our world. Did you know that more than 80% of our humanity today still live under $10 only? Did you know that 22,000 children die every single day because of diseases, lack of shelters, and poverty? I believe as youths here in One Young World and all around the world watching us right now, there is a responsibility for us to work with businesses and to help these communities. Now, I believe to foster partnership with the business sector, it starts with 3 steps. It starts first with helping, where businesses could empower young people like us with education, resources, funding, or endorsement to endorse our volunteer efforts when we put in to these projects. Secondly, I also believe in the notion of inspiring. Businesses and youths can work together to become a catalyst, to spread the message, to recognize the efforts of volunteers, young professionals, young entrepreneurs all around the world to affect change through their solutions. And lastly, it's about connection. It's about connecting. Businesses could connect youths with opportunities to volunteer. Take it as an opportunity to groom your talent, to develop the next generation of leaders within your industries. My favorite quote to share with all of you here is, "A mind for business, but a heart for the world." Thank you. Now, throughout this year, I've been involved in 2 projects, one of which I'm leading a global expedition called Your Big Ear, which started in the UK, visiting 20 over countries, visiting disadvantaged communities where, shockingly to me, were denied of basic human access to basic amenities like water, energy, to a clean environment. I volunteered in the communities in Arequipa, Peru, building wells for families. I volunteered deep in the village of Antigua in Guatemala, building stoves for families there, trekking along the Canadian Rockies to promote awareness on climate change, and most recently participated in the Spanish word, Un Techo para mi país in Colombia, to build shelters for the many families living at the outskirts of Bogota. Now, these impacts are really significant. We have seen unsung heroes, youth like yourselves, volunteering in these projects out of their own time and energy to affect that change. Now again, this is made possible because a UK-based company called Smaller Earth believed in investing in young people to do volunteer works around the world. And I'm proud to share with you as well that throughout my world journey this year, we have potentially impacted 500,000 people through the wells, through the infrastructures, through the shelters that we have built for them. But let's talk about unsung heroes here, the youths. In Malaysia, my home country, a group of young people championed by 5 volunteers, many whom are like yourself, and both of them are here in the crowd too. They have started the One Young World Youth Impact Report, a follow-up from last year's report, headlining the efforts of only 68 young Malaysians. But these 68 young Malaysians have sourced together 7,000 volunteers and have impacted more than 150,000 Malaysians through their projects alone. You could find out more. You can find out more of this achievement in this report, which should be available for all of you in due time. Now again, as an example, this report wouldn't have been possible by 2 collaborations. One from a youth foundation called My Harapan, which has actually supported most of these youth projects featured in this report. The other one is a government agency, MSC Malaysia. Both of these entities have come together to help the youths in Malaysia, showing again that businesses can indeed affect youths. Now, in closing, I hope to call upon our counselors here from the biggest companies in the world to help us youths and for us to help them. Businesses are a neutral force that could change the world. We youths are the embodiment of energy, passion, initiatives to do something different and to do good to our world. I believe this is the starting point, ladies and gentlemen. This is the message we need to wake up to. We need to recognize our efforts. Let's welcome the business industry to work with them and make that change we want to see. Let us all see the sunlight like the tribal kings in the Colombian folklore before. Thank you, everybody, and God bless you.
So Muhammad's now going to introduce the resolution. Thank you to both Muhammad and Micheal for giving us a terrific perspective on what's happened since last year.
Now, on the behalf of One Young World ambassadors and the work achieved in the area of global business, I would like to introduce the One Young World Resolution 2011 for global business. In the belief that global business have the power and responsibility to relieve poverty and improve working and living conditions in the developing world, we resolve to support companies who transparently demonstrate that they are attempting to alleviate poverty through ethical employment and training in developing nations. Therefore, I call upon the attending delegates of the One Young World 2011 Summit to adopt the resolution and carry on the cause. We call upon you, the delegate to One Young World, to create the One Young World list of the companies that we believe are transparent in their efforts to, and efforts in delivering ethical employment and training in developing nations, and take all possible steps to create awareness of the list. Thank you, my dear fellow ambassadors and delegates.
Now, could we have the 6 delegate speakers for this plenary session onto the stage, please? Here they come. Give them a round of applause. Okay. Now, the way we do this is the councillors will each introduce the delegates individually. We don't have the prompt, so I'm not sure who's going first. Who's up first? It's you, Paul. Yeah. Marvelous. we leave the stage to you.
So it's probably the most unfair treatment I've had in my life for a long time, because talking with Erin Schrode for a half an hour, it really went by like it was a minute. Oh. And to capture in 30 seconds all what Erin is doing is totally impossible. I'd describe her as purpose, passion, certainly a lot of energy and positive attitude. She and her mother have started in the US a organization, Teens Turning Green. Although Erin is actually American, I think she's one of the most well-versed world citizens that I've come across, visiting 40 countries, studying right now in Spain. Erin, when the earthquake and disasters hit Haiti, which many of you are aware of, she was out there as one of the first to help, has been back there several times, started a wonderful program there, the school bag program, to get children back in school and bring their lives in difficult circumstances back to as normal as could be. Erin clearly is an activist. What I like about her is she understands the power that you have, and certainly the power of the social media, to rally people together to drive change. Through her numerous blogs, websites, and activities, she has a following that at normal times was 30,000 or more people, but she's just telling me that her latest initiatives that she launched, which she called the Green Challenge, is getting over 1 million people activated. And if the world needs an Erin, we certainly have found one, and I'm glad I met her. Welcome.
Woo! Erin, thank you very much.
Thank you so much for that kind introduction. Wow. So we're here talking business, in which capital plays a huge role, obviously, and rarely am I in the presence of such vast human capital potential as in this room today. Who here considers themselves a business person? Show of hands. Wow. Well, I don't. I am an environmental activist, an education enthusiast, a humanitarian, a rabble-rousing 20-year-old university student. But you're probably thinking, what the heck is this girl doing on stage, right? I have found, through my work with Teens Turning Green and the School Bag, the incredible power to connect profit, not an inherently problematic idea, with social and environmental benefits. These just intentions can be monetized, and not only benefit a double bottom line, but a triple bottom line and a quadruple bottom line. I like to add passion to people, planet, and profit. Now, we see that corporations dominate the market with economic power and our faith as consumers. Who here works at a company? Who here is a consumer? There's the power. That is all of us, and we have to use this market power responsibly to get critical mass among our emerging demographic, the shareholders, the purchasers, the executives, the legislators, this workforce. And we have social media and technology to use to our advantage, to level the playing field. That's what transparency does, and now it's in our hands. This public critique, advertising, and marketing means loyalty is fleeting. And that spurs competition, that spurs innovation, and that spurs entrepreneurship. And there's a marked trend toward a growing interest in meaningful CSR. I want to share with you now some baseline measurements that I use in my own work with Teens Turning Green and beyond, and from that propose a One Young World scorecard for global business. With this information, we can move forward, having a baseline from which to affect actions on our resolutions, and also such that companies know where they stand, comparable areas of strengths and weaknesses. So it could have 5 general categories as I see them: ethical employment and production, environmental sustainability and health, social innovation and technology, transparency and authenticity, and 5th, community empowerment, volunteerism, and the shift towards social business models. That has to be, in my mind, the end goal. That's true sustainability. Companies know scary amounts about all of us, detailed parts of our daily lives. But what do you know about them? Could socially responsible, environmentally sustainable, and economically viable business work for our world? I think it's worth a shot. Who's with me? So here's the bottom line. We need to be responsible citizens, engaged consumers, active young people representative of our world, outline our expectations, inform, and pressure. The demand has to come with your purchasing power as well, and that's a daily occurrence. We're a testament here, all of us today, to the power of youth in breaking down corporate hierarchy and improving of great business value. So, I'm not threatened by the unknown. Like I said, I'm an activist delving into the terrifying business world, and if you want to commit to tangible action, to going home, making these demands local and global, putting ethics back into business, I want you to say these words with me. 4 words. I demand good business. Ready? I demand good business. You guys, I know it's early. Come on, one more time. I demand good business. Listen up, world. These are collaborative efforts. This is a concerted force for hope, because together we're one young world. That's your wake-up call. Apathy is out, and true sustainable investment in our future, in people and our planet, has to mean using business for social and environmental objectives. So unite with corporations. This is in our hands. Thank you.
An excellent presentation. Congratulations. It's my great pleasure now to introduce Nicole, Paulet, Piedra. Nicole is absolutely passionate about development, but she's passionate about it in the context of partnerships between NGOs and business. And she's currently at Harvard, but she spent time in Brazil looking at one particular partnership involved in enhancing the effectiveness of teacher training. As we all know, education is a huge driver and power in improving the quality of life in the world, and you can't have education without good teaching. This was a partnership between a mining company and the authorities and NGOs in Brazil, and she was down there looking at the effectiveness of it and how it could be improved. So please give a great big One Young World welcome to Nicole.
Thank you. So from an economic perspective, it is understood that optimal working conditions are beneficial for both employers and employees. Therefore, businesses should be expected to fulfill more than minimum standards in order to perform well, financially and socially. Poverty and increasing inequality, however, often prevent businesses from making significant social contributions if they only aim to fulfill more than minimum standards. And it is in their interest and responsibility to become key social actors, improving the standards of living in the communities where they operate, instead of turning a blind eye on them. Corporate social responsibility should be incorporated into the business model as a long-term investment that requires clear objectives and formulated mechanisms to achieve social transformations. CSR-related activities should be approached no differently than business activities, for which CEOs establish annual business plans defining concrete goals and strategies. Although one-time monetary donations can contribute to solving short-term needs, they do not provide sustainable solutions to the structural problems that lie at the root of inequality. I support the general sentiment of the resolution as it currently stands, yet I believe that we, One Young World delegates, could create awareness of companies that are upholding even higher standards of social responsibility and making those standards the rule rather than the exception. I call for the creation of a One Young World list of companies that have implemented long-term social projects through successful partnerships with the public and non-governmental sectors, both of which I consider necessary to achieve sustainable development goals. Most businesses aren't specialized in the provision of social programs and social goods, but they do have the financial, logistical, and technological resources to support them. At the same time, the non-governmental and non-profit sectors have become increasingly professionalized, not only specializing in the provision of social goods, but also in the implementation of innovative social enterprises that have succeeded at alleviating poverty. These new development professionals have the necessary skills and experience to effectively transform particular aspects of these key social areas. Therefore, partnerships between businesses, nonprofits, and non-governmental organizations, as well as social enterprises, have the potential to provide focused, professional interventions that can make sustainable contributions to development. I wish to see Wang Yangor delegates take the lead in creating mechanisms to facilitate these partnerships through an online platform that can pair up companies that are interested in affecting social change and NGOs that have already made tangible progress but could still benefit from the resources from these companies. Each of us can commit to return to our own home countries and reach out to our networks in order to create this online database of businesses and NGOs that can be sorted out by world region and key social area. But this initiative requires all of us to get involved. So how many of you would contribute to this initiative by either helping manage the online database, expanding its network through your own connections, or advocating for it in your own countries? If you would be willing to do it, please raise your hand. To everyone with their hand up, I invite you to sign up your commitment at the pledge point outside this session. Finally, it is our duty to acknowledge that development requires a multidimensional approach and a commitment between the private, public, and third sectors. And we must direct our efforts towards transforming this commitment into concrete actions that can make a difference in today's world. Thank you.
Well, I congratulate Nicole for that great presentation. It is indeed a privilege to be here among all of you. This is truly an exciting moment for me also, to be with such leaders, responsible leaders of future, which gives me great confidence about the future. And today I had a special privilege of knowing a young man, a great young man, who could be a great example of this crowd. Shankar Krishnamurthy is Indian, based in Singapore. Shankar is professionally a communication engineer, but he is not only that. It's obvious he's not only that. He's here, he's a responsible individual who have applied and who have been attending this Young One World organization because he truly believes that he can make a difference. Shankar is an ambassador for India for the Future of Change initiative. He's also an ambassador of Singapore on the International Foundation. Shankar has organized countrywide stand-up against poverty campaigning in Singapore. For those of you who know, Singapore is a very rich country. Yes, Shankar has also been a truly incredible contributor to bringing underprivileged children with the corporations, which has created a win-win environment for them. Through this short meeting with him, I have also learned something. Shankar is organizing TEDx events. I didn't know this, but it is eventually technology, entertainment, design, and independently organized events. So there is no end for learning, but definitely I have learned so much from him, and he's a great example of you, all of you. And today, Shankar is going to talk about global business can collaborate with social enterprises to eliminate poverty. Shankar, please.
Thank you so much for the warm welcome. A very good morning to all of you. Usually when we talk about poverty alleviation, we put the primary responsibility on governments. It is becoming increasingly clear than ever before that poverty cannot be solved by the government alone. We need businesses to take responsibility to create lasting solutions. The corporate social responsibility programs of companies usually involve financial assistance and aid. As the proverb goes, give a man a fish, you fed him for today. Teach a man to fish, and you have fed him for a lifetime. By only providing financial aid, we are fostering dependency. We don't want quick fixes, we want permanent change. I'm sure you're thinking, what's in it for businesses? Does profit-making align with social efforts? Multinational companies have started realizing that leaving out billions of people who are a potential market, even though they are at the bottom of the pyramid, is no longer an option. Many businesses have changed their ideas to make their products more affordable to the poor. However, in times of recession, affordable takes on a whole new meaning. Poverty alleviation should first focus on wealth creation, including access to jobs, health, education, and vocational training before providing access to consumable goods and services. Finding businesses that follow sustainable and ethical practices for poverty alleviations are hard to find. Fortunately for us, there are a few exceptions. Nestlé's Milk District model is one such example. By providing the opportunity for training, education, and steady income to poor rural farmers in exchange for a consistent milk supply, Nestlé effectively integrates poverty alleviation into its business model, making it mutually beneficial. While the company has been able to increase its market of fresh milk, poor communities have benefited from job security, improved nutrition, and an improved standard of living. There are several such enterprises such as Unilever in India, Intel in Costa Rica, Daimler Chrysler in Brazil, which prove that profit-seeking ventures can change their business models to reduce poverty. There are several ways in which we can support and create awareness of such companies. We can do campaigns to peacefully demonstrate support for a cause. There are several global poverty campaigns that occur around the world. Stand Up is one such campaign that occurred across 74 countries last year, right before the summit, where world leaders reviewed Millennium Development Goals. We can promote positive actions by such companies through campaigns like Stand Up. Sky is the limit, and I'm sure many of you will be able to come up with really creative ideas. Start discussions, invent ideas, and start implementing them now. I would like to share with you what I will be doing for this purpose. I have created a framework model in developing nations to encourage global businesses to invest in uplifting the underprivileged. The Ministry of Education in Singapore follows such a system. The multinational companies in the region will empower youth with potential by providing not only funds for higher education, but a comprehensive package of mentoring, career guidance, skill building, and job opportunities. The student in return will have to serve 2 to 4 years as an employee in one of the network of companies that has offered him funds after completing his education. My vision is to make this as a global movement that is being practiced across the world. I believe that sharing the idea here at the Global Summit is the first step towards realizing that vision. I urge you to support my idea by implementing it in your countries. Let's all join hands with global businesses and make history by 2015. Thank you.
Good morning. It's my pleasure to introduce to the stage Clinton Gachangi, who has astounded me, I think, in the meeting that we had before this session with his appreciation of issues which it's probably taken me 20 years to understand in running and building a business that works internationally. He has a wonderful appreciation of the importance of education in tackling poverty. He's incredibly passionate about entrepreneurship, about sustainability, and about actually creating a global movement where businesses function and operate in a very different way than the way they do today. I think his formative experience in educational terms in Kenya has made such an impact in him. And at 21, if I'd known half as much as he did, I could have done a hell of a lot more damage in my career. I'd like you to give a wonderful welcome to the stage for Clinton.
Morning. One Young World, good morning. Good morning. All right. Did you know that out of 175 top economic entities in the world, 109 of these are actually multinational corporations? That accounts for more than 60% of the world's economy. In 2009, Walmart was ranked 23rd between Sweden and Poland, with an economy that was estimated to be twice the size of Singapore's entire GDP. That's astounding if you ask me. I say that compared to their size and influence, global businesses must not only take advantage, but must also take responsibility to human dignity that comes with it. Right now, as I speak, there are an estimated 12 million people in need of aid in East Africa, as the region faces the world's worst humanitarian crisis right now. It is at times like these that we look for multinational corporations in search for philanthropic practices that will help alleviate poverty and hunger in these areas. But unfortunately, we're astonished to find that multinational corporations are actually doing little to nothing to actually help in these causes. It is at times like these that we are reminded of when the oil spill happened in the Gulf of Mexico. BP set aside $20 billion in order to aid in cleanup and also to reimburse those victims of the spill. Now, I'm asking myself, if corporations can set aside these amounts of funds to help, clean up their mess, basically, why can't they also set aside funds that are going to be dedicated to projects that are going to be able to help alleviate poverty in nations that are really currently and historically so much afflicted? I stand here today in support of this resolution to say that we will support and openly endorse businesses that abide by ethical, transparent, and philanthropic standards of sustainable business, and especially those who partner with us today to ensure that rapid, historical, and positive impact is felt globally. But once we pass this resolution, what actions can we take in order to make these changes happen? What I'm proposing to you, One Young World delegates and ambassadors today, is the creation of the Sustainable Business Award. This will create a new platform for the new leading sustainable multinationals to be recognized. It'll also showcase much positive impact that is being done in different parts of the world by multinational corporations. It will pass the message that this One Young World is acknowledging, appreciating, and applauding positive impact that is being done around the world by global business. We will focus our media attention on the projects that are being done by multinational corporations to help alleviate poverty and also to aid in disaster relief efforts. We will award the leading businesses in ethical hiring practices, clean environment standards, and disaster relief. When this award gains a high podium, and also if it gains momentum, it will force corporations to take notice of this trend and also to follow it. We're saying that corporations will not be able to reach their full potential unless they engage in humanitarian efforts. We're not only simply here to speak, though, but we're here to inspire real action. This is why I'm calling on all of you to help me to inaugurate the One Young World Sustainable Business Award Ceremony 2012. This project will require much collaboration with our global business speakers today. It will also need cooperation with our media activists. And also, I call upon our media activists as well to collaborate with us so that it gains enough coverage and that it gains the platform needed to make great impact. We have a real opportunity today to change the role of business in our world. We say that it is the One Young World. That means it is ours to lead, and we intend to lead it in the right direction. Thank you. God bless you.
Thank you, Clinton. That was excellent. It's my privilege to be here with all of you. I get re-energized when I meet folk like you, and it sustains me through more difficult times in other places. Thank you very much for that. It's a particular privilege today to introduce Imteaz Ahamed to you. So he was born in Bangladesh, was given an Arabic name. He lived in the UK and married a Syrian Lebanese and now resides in Australia. And so he seems to be the very definition of a global citizen. By comparison, I just spent a bit of time in a few places. In 2007, however, in addition to his daytime activities, together with his wife, he founded the Green Scarf Day. It's a development organization that has over $60,000 raised over the last 3 years and funds projects that focus on long-term capacity building, particularly for disadvantaged women. He currently works for Reckitt Benckiser as the National Account Manager in Australia, and I'd like you to give him an extraordinarily warm welcome. Ahamed.
Thanks, Dan. I'm lucky. I've been given a world-class education and an opportunity to start in the corporate world even before I finished my university degree. Not everyone gets that. I say this because there will be plenty out there who are smarter, brighter, and more capable of doing everything that I've done and more, simply because they didn't have the opportunity, simply because of circumstance. Now, who do we know that can change circumstance the fastest? Global business. Global business has the sheer scale to end global poverty. Many corporations have a larger turnover than the GDP of many nations. Of the 100 largest economies in the world, 51 are corporations and 49 are countries. Alleviating poverty can only happen through real economic opportunities for all. And the private sector has the right motivation, has the right intention to making this happen. It's called profit. There is a lot of profit to be had in the third world, and I don't think the West has really tapped into it yet. The private sector also has the necessary resources and the political influence and power to make this happen as well. Whereas governments face political constraints as well as being slow to react. NGOs as well face resourcing issues, which limits their impact. But all three need to work together in terms of alleviating poverty and bringing about positive change. So how can global business help alleviate poverty over and above what it's already doing? It's through technology. Technology is getting cheaper day by day, and we're seeing internet access throughout the world increasing. Companies such as Google, Facebook, LinkedIn, they've already started tapping into this. They've already started outsourcing data entry to countries such as Kenya, Uganda, as well as Pakistan. And they're actually seeing extremely high quality output at significantly lower costs. So what am I doing to get global business involved in terms of alleviating global poverty? I'm launching a brand. I'm launching a marketing campaign that's called Elevate. Elevate's about elevating people out of poverty through real economic opportunities. Opportunities that are fair, sustainable, as well as transparent. Corporations need to aspire to display the Elevate badge, and they do this by demonstrating and fulfilling certain criteria that shows that they're actively engaging in third world employment and giving real opportunity to these people, and not just by giving one-off handouts. To make this work, we need to positively influence global business leaders, the CEOs of the top corporations in the world, to get top-down engagement throughout their organizations. And we need to demonstrate to them that the third world can actually give them a financial result, as well as generating positive PR for them. The way that Elevate works is it's three teams. The first team sources these opportunities in the third world. The second team partners with our global corporations and sells them these opportunities. And team three lobbies governments in the third world to reduce barriers to entry, to reduce unnecessary processes, things like corruption, to make everything work better. The plan is also to monitor performance year on year, perhaps using Erin's scorecard, as well as to reward and recognise our partners, again, perhaps using Clinton's Sustainability Award. So this type of cycle of active engagement of Elevate and economic opportunities using global business can help alleviate poverty. So what can you do to help? Firstly, Firstly, you need to lobby your governments. You need to lobby the third world governments to reduce these barriers to entry, to reduce corruption, so that we can get global businesses really involved and really interested in participating in your markets. Secondly, you know your communities. You know the strengths that you have. You know all the fantastic work that NGOs all over the world are doing. Let us know about it so we can take it to global business. Finally, I want us to be the generation that ended global poverty. And I really believe that Elevate can do this. So let's make it happen. Thank you very much. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. It's my pleasure again to introduce our final delegate speaker, Oli Thomas. Oli is from the UK now. Oli works for a company called PricewaterhouseCoopers. They're a big global accounting firm, and the global accounting firms sit right at the heart of the global business world and of global capitalism. So it's very interesting to me in talking to Oli that Oli has observed how easy it is when you sit right in the heart of big business to forget about all the problems of the world, and particularly about the problems of poverty around the world. And Oli believes passionately that businesses need to be run not just for profit and not just for short-term profit, but for the benefit of all the stakeholders in those businesses, customers, of course, shareholders, of course, but also for the broader communities and societies in which business operates. And Oli has decided that business needs to move from operating, yes, on a CSR basis, yes, doing lots of good things, but basically things that are philanthropic, to a much more mutually beneficial partnership between business, society, NGOs, social enterprise, and so on. So please welcome Oli Thomas.
Hello, everybody, and thank you, Anthony, for that very warm welcome. You've heard about the power of global business. You've heard about the story of a little shop called Walmart that started less than 50 years ago that's now the 23rd biggest economy in the world. But what I want to talk to you now, and to wrap everyone's speeches up, is how can we harness this power? What can we do? What can we here do today to really, create a bond, a collaboration between us, between communities, and between these companies to use these profits in a more sustainable way? To do this, we need to get into the minds of these leaders, because you've got to remember that the reason for the success of businesses is because they're there to maximize profits. They're not there, funnily enough, to give out money to charity, although we might want them to. They're not there, first and foremost, to help their communities. They're there, actually, to make money for their shareholders, as hard as that is for us all to admit. So how can we, therefore, get them to invest in ways that help their shareholders and also help communities? Well, I want to get into their minds. I want us to imagine that we own a shop. And our shop is in a wealthy town, and we make $10 profit a year. We'll keep it at $10 to keep the maths simple. And down the road from you is a village in which there is poverty and there is hunger. So every year you give $1 of your profit to charity. This charity provides this village with food and with medicine. And you feel good, and your customers feel good. So now ask yourself this: what incentive is there to go beyond that $1? What incentive is there to do more? But another thing to ask yourself: what happens if there's a recession in your town and you don't make profit one year? How then does the charity provide food and medicine to this village? And how do these people in the village down the road eat? It's not a sustainable solution. So now imagine that you meet a man or a woman in the street, and they advise you that actually you should take a risk. You should go to this village and meet this community of people that are suffering. And you should talk to them about what they want and what they need. So you say, okay, we'll give it a go. So you go there, and you decide to invest in infrastructure. You build roads, you teach them how to farm more efficiently, and you buy them farming equipment. And more importantly, you ask them, what is it that you need to build a sustainable business? The next year, this village down the road, they start producing high-quality crops. And suddenly you start buying from this village down the road, and you sell it to consumers in your wealthy town. Now, you're not now just providing food to this village down the road, you're providing income. And the next year, you're not making $10 profit, you're making $15 profit. And this is kind of an illustration of what shared value is and what it can be, and in my opinion, what's not done widely enough. So now to the resolution. Now, the resolution asks for a transparency list. This is exposure, it's awareness. Again, it's a marketing tool. Now, I want to get this out of the PR room and into the boardroom. To do that, We need to really think about how we can lead to direct action and investment. So now, I agree with Imteaz. I agree that we need a platform. In fact, I agree with all the people and what they've said today, and I want to wrap this into one young world, broader, platform itself. I want a place, like a website or a social network even, where we invite communities to join us and organisations to join us, and we're all in one place where we can discuss what's the best way forward for investment. Yes, we have a scorecard. Yes, we can have an award. Yes, we can lobby governments from there, but we're all in one place, in one area that we can discuss it. But I want to add one more thing to what the previous speakers have said. I want us to go out and seek feedback from the communities themselves. Because we hear a lot from companies about what they do. They produce a lot of reports these days telling us what they do. But the real measure of success is not in what they do, but what the impact is of what they do. And we don't hear much from these communities and these farmers to hear what their view is on, and how someone like Walmart has actually helped them by investing, or someone like Barclays or Shell. We don't actually hear from these communities. So I think if we've got people from 170 different countries, I want you all to go back and we can speak to people from these communities and get their feedback. We can use technology to have text surveys, or we can get people on the internet to vote. But maybe in time, this will come. So what action do I have for us? I want us now to really take concrete action. So my challenge to you all is to go back to your countries, and I want you to each speak to 5 business leaders. And I want you to each think about people that you'd like to meet, first and foremost, and people that have power in your country, and I want you to convince them to join us in this community, this One Young World community, and in establishing this platform that we're going to set up. Before you get any ideas, these 5 are taken, they're mine. But what I want, before we set this platform up, there's obviously going to be technicalities, logistics, and we can't ignore the fact that we need to work. We'll work with Elevate, and we'll work with each other, and we'll say, what's the best way of forming this platform? Is it a place on the current One Young World website? Is it a new website? But whilst we do that, you can still go out and meet these business leaders. And what you need to do is get them to sign up to a mailing list, a One Young World mailing list. This is not the HR manager. It's not middle management at all. You need to go and meet the CEOs. And with the One Young World brand, you will have access to these CEOs, and you can talk about not just business, but the environment and everything you've heard here. And more importantly, you can get them to sign up to this, and they will be signing up to this community. And when we release this platform, we can get direct access to these CEOs and said, you've committed to join us in this. If you think about that, 1,200 people times 5, that's 6,000 CEOs we would have immediate access to. And together with this community of organisations, we will build a new model of capitalism. It will be one in which the most successful organisations are not those that seek to gain irrespective of the cost, but are those that pursue initiatives for the greater of all. So now, I just want to finish by leaving you with 3 things to take away from my speech, from all the speeches, I think. The first thing is this. It's a point to remember that sustainable business in the long run is not through philanthropy. It must be through shared value. The second thing is an action. Every single one of you today, go and speak to 5 business leaders in your own countries, 5 CEOs. We can keep a track on this. We can all build it up, and we can each work out how many we've got to. Maybe we can have a target. We can measure it. And we'll aim for 6,000 CEOs and get them to join this mailing list. And a third, final point for you all to take away is this. If we are the voice of tomorrow, then we must speak louder and with greater morality and with greater compassion than the voice of today. Thank you for listening.
Well done, guys. I thought 6 amazing speeches. So what we do now, before we have the CEO panel and hear from the CEOs, we're going to spend 20 or 30 minutes hearing from you guys in the room. The way this works, and this is the first time we're doing it, so I'm sure it'll go horribly wrong, but we'll get better as the sessions progress, is that the councillors who would like to go down to the floor and man a microphone, we have 4 microphones around the room and a roving mic. Connie is going to come back on. You know the rule. If you can't tweet it, you can't say it, so try and keep your question, comment, down to the length of a tweet. The role of the councillors on the mics is just to quickly introduce you, say what your name is and which country you're from. So the councillors who'd like to, if you'd like to go down and man a microphone, there's 1 there, 2 in the middle, and 1 over there. And then I think we have a roving mic we can give you as well. And maybe, Paul, you want to grab the roving mic? And
There's
stand
one rolling
at the front
mic
here.
if you want to use it, unless you want to grab the microphone. And again, the 40-second rule applies. Thank you very much, all of you. And I think they can use an additional applause whilst our councillors are finding their microphones for their great ideas, great contributions, and some of the aspects that are very concrete and that actually can be put into action very fast. So thank you very much on those practical solutions. Now, I see that Mark already has somebody next to him, so maybe you want to take it away straight away. That's the microphone towards the back in the middle.
Thank you, that's better. Yeah, I'm with Yassir from France.
Hi, everyone. I just wanted to say that I'm really convinced of the role of NGOs and global businesses and individuals. But I'm also convinced that politics can change things. We are here discussing as if there wasn't today the worst economical crisis since the Second World War. I have this impression. And that's why I say that One Young World has to help politicians to implement real political solutions. That's why, for example, I propose the implementation of the financial transaction tax, which is also called the Tobin tax, which could be a good solution to raise billions of dollars each year to eradicate poverty. That's why I want to ask the two representatives of the banking industry, what do you think?
Thank you very much, and let me remind you all of the 40-second rule that was slightly above that. Anybody here who wants to answer that right at the moment? And no, yeah, okay. Wonderful. And I see that over there our roving microphone has somebody behind him, so please take it away.
I have Bresa here from one of my favorite countries, Indonesia.
Thank you so much for this opportunity. I want to deliver my opinion. If this global business really want to change the world, really want to help the developing countries, you have to change from CSR, corporate social responsibility, to be corporate human responsibility. Because if you just put social responsibility, that will be not intellectual, it will be not spiritual, because we know that there are three pillars that we have really need important. And the second is, if you really not want to help the developing countries, come on, join in the business in agriculture, because it's really help the developing countries. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Gula, you've got the next lady next to you.
Yes, I have next to me Mary from Canada.
Hi, thank you for your wonderful speeches. I just wanted to ask, or what your thoughts on, there are some things, the bottom line is what drives businesses. But there are some things that require government incentives or government programs to get that bottom line. And so it's like a chicken and egg situation, and just wanted to know what your thoughts on that were.
Yeah, just one quick point. The questions, we won't answer them directly, but as part of the panel, the CEOs will address a lot of them.
Thank you very much. Anthony.
I've got Shahid here from the UK show. Good morning, everybody. I just wanted to raise a wake-up call to everybody. The businesses are here. HP, Siemens, A3, Unilever, Barclays are here. They want to help. What we need to do is go to the top, like Imteaz said and Yasser said, is we need to get to the government and say, look, we've got businesses who want to help, who have proven they want to help by showing their faces up here. Where's the Zoomers, the Camerons, the Obamas sitting here telling us, you know what, give us ideas? Where are they?
Thank you very much, Graham.
I have Abraham from the United States.
Thank you. So my question is when will global businesses start to choose, positive impact over profit? Anthony said yesterday from Barclays that sometimes in profit there is negative impact. But I think CSR is a backwards way of thinking it. If businesses change from the get-go, and this is what social venture and social businesses are, from the bottom up, that's the real impact. CSR is bullshit. I'm sorry. It's a dog and pony show. Hey, look at us, give money here. Well, we harm our planet, we harm the people. So if we actually choose positive businesses over profit, that's what it comes down to. So that's my challenge to that.
Thank you very much for that challenge. Mark again.
Yes. Thank you. Can I introduce Sarah from Egypt?
Hello, everyone. Okay, if there's one thing we could all agree upon, it's enough talking and let's act. So putting this into action, we have 6 great ideas right here. So how about we agree on not leaving here without putting this into this collaborative platform, and we use this platform to actually press on all the other global businesses that weren't here, other companies that weren't here, that it would be something good for them to be part of this platform, and at the same time link with the other NGOs. And we shouldn't leave here without staffing even groups and assigning people who are in charge of the database. I mean, we're 1,400 people. How hard could it be to find people who are leading part of the project? So how about we just unite on this goal and have one major thing done from this summit?
Thank you very much. Paul, with the next idea.
I have the pleasure to introduce Naveen from a country that we all need to help, Bangladesh.
Thank you very much. I think a lot of us have heard about Dr. Muhammad Yunus's concept of building social business. Today, a lot of us spoke about different ideas how we can help overcome social problems. So I think his concept and theories actually encompasses most of our ideas. So I have a question to ask. What are your thoughts on that theory? Can it actually be implemented in today's world?
Thank you very much for that question. Gula, you've got the next questionnaire, idea giver.
I got here Prewacello from Zambia.
I'm from Zambia, representing FQM, First Quantum Minerals. We are doing what we are saying currently in Zambia. We are doing corporate social responsibility. What we are doing is we are teaching about 1,000 women how to do business, and we have adopted one college. We are supplying them with equipment. Now, what we need partnership. So how can we get the sponsor from you?
Very good question, very good demand. Over to you, Anthony.
Hi, I've got Abdul here from Jordan.
Hello, everybody. My point is about, okay, we go all and work around the world. We care about people who are fighting hunger and poverty. But what makes us all together in the same place is what gives us the power. I mean, when guys and like talk from all around the world in one name for one maybe platform, we'll go like have an impression more stronger than a few projects running around a few countries. Will that give us like the world will hear us more, the world will care about us more, and we will get the targets done in a few months with the less amount of money we use as a charity funds writing. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your input. Graham.
Hi, thanks for coming. I have Calvin from Kenya. I just say that's where my aunt was born. Great country.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much. I have one suggestion and one question. So my question is this. You know, back in our country, you find that most of the private sectors always, private business always like to give CSR to the government most, you know, and also to the NGOs that are around there. So how are we going to encourage the private business to take part in the social corporate responsibility? And then another suggestion that I want to suggest to all of us for the One Young World, you know, we are going back empowered. All of us have great ideas from different countries, and this is my suggestion. If we can go back home and we have like a Twitter page and a Facebook page, so like One Young World Kenya, One Young World Uganda, and then we put all the projects that we're doing, all the kind of ideas that we have, and then we can all unite together, you know, and empower each other through that. So I think if we can take that resolution, I think that could be a cool thing.
Thank you very much for sharing that idea with us. Over to you, Paul.
I have here Emmanuel from a country that has its struggles, but is rapidly setting an example for many places in Africa, Rwanda.
Thank you very much. I do have a suggestion to the proposition made by Creighton about the Global Business Award. When you talk about a Global Business Award, we don't have to ignore that big businesses mostly work with government or politicians, and mostly in Africa, corrupt politicians. So if you give such a business an award, probably most of the business who are profit-driven won't even care to get that award, as long as they are making business. So my suggestion is that probably we can make a business transparency index, and that index will expose which corporations are doing good, which business are doing bad, and which kind of bad side they are doing. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Apart from which, there is an organization called Transparency International, so the idea is around. But you might tag along on that. Over to you, Mark.
May I introduce Raheem from the UK?
Hello, everyone. My question is in relation to the CSR scorecard that a few presenters talked about. Now, whilst I don't argue with the fact that CSR activities should be judged on the basis of the impact they have, but at the end of the day, money matters. And it's the relative contribution of these companies which we need to measure very transparently. Now, if all the investor community knows how important the price to earnings ratio is, my question is, why can't we come up with a hardcore statistic of charity to earnings ratio? And if we can spur competition between these companies on this relative measure, I think it's going to mean a lot of more money going into it.
Wonderful. Thank you very much for sharing your thought. Anthony, so that we don't get into the swing of things.
I have Saurabh from India.
Hi. We all know that the biggest problem today is to get the first penny or the capital to do all this social charity. And I'm going to marry this with the fact that if the 51 biggest economies around are the corporations, why can't we have a corporate social bond market where we challenge these companies to get their cash on their balance sheet at the lowest interest rate to this market, which can finance these activities all around the world?
Interesting idea. Güler.
Yes, I have here Dominic from our hosting country, Switzerland.
Change happens from the bottom. So I think it's not enough just to include the multinational companies, but we need a new class of entrepreneurs. So I ask how we can support this kind of new entrepreneurs. It's from companies and also from us. What can we do that we have a new class of entrepreneurs? And it's referring to the Oli Thomas presentation. It's the kind of entrepreneurs we need to change the world.
Thank you very much for that observation. Graham.
Leanne, also from Kenya.
From my observation, the companies decide to support a project, and then they pull out before the project is done. So I'm here to call upon businesses to commit, if they are going to commit to sponsoring a project, sponsor it or support it until it's stable or it commences. So that's what I call upon businesses to do.
Thank you very much. Paul.
I have Roy from South Africa.
Hello, everyone. I just want to add on a comment made earlier. Considering the massive challenges and high failure rates of entrepreneurs, I think it's very important to ask ourselves the question, how can we make it as easy as possible for entrepreneurs to succeed?
I think we had some answers yesterday. I'm quite sure the CEOs will be answering that. Over to you, Mark.
May I introduce Paras from India?
Hello, everyone. Firstly, I'm really glad to be here. And just two things. Firstly, a suggestion from one of the ideas that propped up on stage about an award that will start from next year. Rather than it being only a sustainable business, if it could be a sustainable and humanly responsible business award, that could lead probably more corporates getting involved and helping people like us to put the cause out. And secondly, there's been talk about a social network being developed for youth initiatives. I'd just like to say here that we're working on something in India for this, which will probably by December be launched out. And yeah, I'll keep everyone posted so that a community can be built onto that, where projects for tomorrow can start off there. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Just a quick remark from the floor. This is the last round, please, so that we can continue with our day afterwards. And you'll have the CEO round afterwards. Anthony, please.
I have Manuel from Mexico.
Hello. I'm going to give a quick comment. We'll turn it into a quick question. I hope to stay in the character limit. So social enterprises, what I always try to push, it breaks this preconception of NGOs just getting funds and delivering it to the people who need it. With different kind of approaches. No? So even in Mexico, where I'm from, the social indicators are getting better, but poverty is getting worse. So that's a big problem we need to attack. So as a social enterprise, and we've agreed that one of the main issues is access to capital. So this access to capital is very controversial because eventually this turns into a microfinance debate. So my question, and what I'm going to put on the floor, is where is microfinance healthy and where does it end up being worse than the help that it makes? Because Mexico, we have one of the highest interest rates for microfinancing. So.
Thank you very much for that observation, Gule.
Yes, I have here Brian Lin from Taiwan and USA.
Hello. So now we know that we need to engage the business leaders. We need to engage the CEOs. But my question is, how do we also approach from the bottom up, from the average Joe? How do we engage the blue-collar worker and the engineer who says, it's not my problem, I can't make a difference, go talk to my boss? How do we do that?
Self-responsibility rather than corporate responsibility. Graham.
Alexander from Germany.
I'm sure you all know Jeffrey Sachs, who wanted to end poverty or still wants to, and offered a practical strategy by offering the Millennium Development Goals. Or even Muhammad Yunus, who owns social business, and the strategy he offers is actually leading by example, forming ties with the Noni and other companies. Now, when I look at the resolution, I see that we want to show support. Now, if Sachs and Yunus would have just shown their support, I think they wouldn't have gotten very far. So I think we should not only be the voice of tomorrow, but the hands of tomorrow, and be highly practical when it comes to including strategies in our resolution.
Thank you very much. That was the last one from that microphone, and please over to you now.
Yeah, I have here Lucian Tarnowski, who is the founder and CEO of Brave New Talent from the UK. I'll do some advertising for you.
Thank you, Paul. I didn't ask that. So hello, one young world. I've got a comment that of all the world's resources that we have, the one that I think is most wasted is people. People is the most wasted resource. And businesses can change this. They have a huge power to change this. There was a World Economic Forum article at the beginning of the year that said human capital is now more important to business success than financial capital. So that old adage, cash is king, is now talent is king. Now, I believe companies have got a great potential to change the education system and skill people up through social media and the internet. And I think companies can turn their employees into a giant school and the world's biggest collection of teachers. Thanks, son.
Thank you very much. And I've seen Paul negotiating. That really was the last question from that microphone. The last question from the microphone at the back, in the middle.
May I introduce Waleed from Egypt?
Hi, guys. The renewable and the alternative energy project are startup projects. And the banking sector usually is afraid of funding and lending the startup companies, especially in Africa. Who will take the leading movement in the banking sector, especially that we have a financial crisis around the world, and it is isn't it this the best way to make a social work, a social value to the companies and the banking sector? Thank you.
Thank you very much. And the very last question.
I have from UK. She promised it will be short. Okay.
So in line with CSR transparency, I have a challenge to pose to 5 of these panelists. What can companies do to combat bureaucracy in many of these emerging markets?
Wonderful, thank you very much. There were many, many key words that we've heard. I'm very, very happy that we have actually put it on tape and we can actually replay everything. None of the ideas is going to get lost. Thank you very much, dear councillors. Come back up on stage and I will disappear.
Thank you.
Duly.
So what we're going to do before we get into the CEO panel is I'm going to ask Muhammed, so if the CEOs could come back up on stage, and we'll be heading into the CEO panel in just a couple of minutes. Before that, I'd like to ask Muhammed to come back up and read the resolution, and you're then going to vote on it. So, Muhammed, if you come back up and read the One Young World resolution.
I'm going to recall the One Young World resolution for global business for the One Young World Summit 2011. In the belief that global business have the power and responsibility to relieve poverty and improve working and living conditions in developing world, we resolve to support companies who transparently demonstrate that they are attempting to alleviate poverty through ethical employment and training in developing nations. We call upon you, the delegates, to One Young World 2011 to create the One Young World list of the companies that we believe are transparent in their efforts to and efforts in delivering ethical employment and training in developing nations, and take all possible steps to create awareness of the list. Thank you.
Okay. So now you vote 3 options. Yes, you agree, no, you don't agree, or you abstain. So if you could vote now, please. Hey. Now, I think one thing that's really critically important, and a lot of you said it at the microphones, it's not about what we say here, it's about what you guys go and do. And what happened very successfully last year is people got together in the breaks and said, okay, we had 8, 10, 15 smart ideas, let's make sure they happen. So there's impact grids out in the room outside. All of you who have an interest in getting involved and in getting behind the ideas that were actually shared over the last 45 minutes or hour, please gather at the break at the Impact Board on Global Business. And on that note, I'll hand you over to Kate for the next introduction.